What's up, Bertini fam? Now in today's video, we're going to be replacing the charge pipes on our 2020 Mini Cooper JCW. Now, the charging pipes that you see in front of you are the best on the market, the absolute best that your money can buy you. They're built by a company by the name of MMR. For those of you who don't know, MMR specializes in Mini Cooper and BMW high performance parts. All of their parts are track tested and proven to withstand high amounts of abuse and high amounts of racing. Now, in my opinion, these are a critical upgrade on your Mini Coopers. This is not like an optional thing. This is like a must thing, especially if you're planning on tuning or turning up the boost or adding an intercooler. You definitely want to do these. Now, I am going to be using the caliper to measure the inner diameter on these things, and we are going to be checking the weight of all of these before we install them on the car and get the old ones off of the car. By the way, do me a big favor, if you have not yet joined the Bertini family, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. This way you can join the Bertini family and you can stay up to date on all of my future episodes and content that I'm putting out there on all of my build series. If you're interested in purchasing any parts I install in any of my videos, make sure to always check out the links in the description box below and use code Bertini. This way you can save a bunch of money off of your orders. All right, I'm done with the talking. Go ahead and roll the intro and let's jump into today's build. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and weigh everything up and see what kind of weight we're adding onto the Mini Cooper. Okay, so the first pipe is 13 ounces. By the way, I just want to call out the quality here really quickly. The quality on these things are like top notch. They come with the O-rings. They come with all the clips you need. Like, this is so nice. The powder coating on these is beautiful. The welds on these is beautiful. I mean, these are really high quality pieces. All right, next we have 10 ounces. So total so far is 23 ounces. Then we have 1 pound, 1 ounce. So far that's a few pounds. So I'll add all these up in the video once we're done weighing them up and see what the total weight is. Then we have 5 ounces, add in all the brackets, 15 ounces. So 1 pound, 1 ounce plus the 15 ounces here. So that's 2 pounds between these two things. And then another 23 ounces over there. So that's a pound, roughly like a pound and 8 ounces or something, 7 ounces or something. Like I said, I'll go ahead and insert the total weight right here. This way we have an idea of how much the whole system weighs, and then we can go ahead and weigh all the stuff that we're actually taking off of the Mini Cooper. Now, let's go ahead and check the diameter on all of these pipes. So this is the pipe that goes in on the intake side. So this goes into the throttle body, and it looks like we are at, let me make sure I'm at a good point here. Yes. It actually might be a little bit more than that, but it's 59, 57. So give or take a little bit, actually give a little bit because of the fact of this lip here. So roughly about 60 millimeters, let's just say, internal diameter. And then obviously it's tapered down. Oh, that is dope. Man, MMR actually super killed it with this piping. By the way, I don't know if you all know this, but if you're ever deciding, I should say, on going with a water methanol kit, this would be another reason why you're gonna wanna use MMR. They already have a tap for this. If you're ever interested in adding a spraying system, you don't have to have one of those like super rigged up setups. You can keep it super nice and clean and really professional. Like I said, this brand MMR, they really go above and beyond in terms of engineering. If you look at any of their parts for any of their BMW stuff or any of their Mini stuff, I mean, just super high quality, very well engineered parts. And as I was saying, this piece right here, it actually tapers down. So this is a bigger bore than what's over here. Unfortunately, because of the way that my caliper is set up, I can't get all the way in. Now we'll go ahead and measure up the turbo side. So what goes into the turbo is going to be 4641. So as you can see, this is actually what tapers down. This is what clips on to the intercooler, so it has a much bigger bore, I should say. And like I said, really nice O-rings. Everything comes with the clips ready to go. You don't even have to add anything to these. Although one thing I would mention when installing these things, make sure to put a little bit of motor oil here or just any sort of like lubricant. This way this goes on nice and smooth and seals properly. And I'm assuming this is going to be the exact same size bore So yeah, so 45.86 millimeters. So yeah, it's the same thing. Anyways, super high quality parts, super nice stuff. Let's go ahead and get the OEM stuff off of the Mini Cooper. So now we're gonna have to remove the clip from here and then the one down at the bottom. What I am gonna do is I'm now going to go ahead and jack up the car really quick. This way I can remove the bottom liner and I can get to that clip. Make sure you don't have to force this thing out. Just remove the screws and it'll literally just drop down. Now we can go ahead and get to the bottom clip down there where we need to, so we can go ahead and pry this off, or take this off, not pry it. Please do not pry it. This is what it'll look like once you actually pop it off like that right there. Something that I would recommend, because obviously this back piece here is kind of holding it on. Take a smaller flathead and just pry it on the other side just a little bit and keep this in place, unless you have a buddy helping you out do this. And then this side, do this one, and then just kind of wiggle it and it'll pop right off. Now, once both clips are out, you can simply just go ahead and pull it out, and that is it. Something I'd recommend, until you install your water methanol kit, just go ahead and put a little bit of blue Loctite on this, just so that it stays in place and that it doesn't vibrate either way out. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna be using in terms of adding oil to the O-ring here. Now you are going, these two pieces, by the way, this is what's gonna sit on top. This is gonna sit kind of like that scenario, and then you're gonna go ahead and use a coupler to keep these two parts together. So I'll go ahead and put this all together and then show you what it looks like when it's finished. By the way, make sure to pull this back like this way it could fit on properly, and then you could snap it into place. All right, and that is it. One is down. Let's go ahead and move on to the other side and do those other two. Okay, so something I did was clean this down to bring it back to life and restore it. It was looking really, really rough shape and it was dirty all over. And so I pressure cleaned all of this to clean this up. You know, kind of bring it back to life and make it look good. And I figured it's already off the car, and as you know from previous videos, it's kind of a thing that I do. If something comes off the car, I'd rather clean it, bring it back to life, and then put it back on, knowing that I put back on something that is in great and excellent condition and that I just didn't do a half-assed job. The other thing that I've been doing is soaking the screws in WD-40 to remove any rust that was on them, and this helps bring them back to life. So these have now been soaking in here for several hours. I'll take them out here and let them dry up in a few minutes, and then yeah, when we go to put them back on the car, they'll be in great shape. Anyways, now we need to go ahead and jack the car up and pop this wheel off, remove the wheel liner. This way we can get to the next side of the charge pipe in order to remove it off of the Mini Cooper. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now, not that you have to do this part, but what I would recommend is taking some Simple Green and just cleaning out all the dirt while you're here. You might as well, everything is off. And so definitely worth just taking the time, cleaning this off a little bit, getting rid of any, you know, grime that's in here, since, you know, you have the fender liner off, or wheel well liner, whatever you refer to it as. And then of course, we'll go ahead and pressure clean the wheel well like we do with all the parts that we take off. So that'll be clean before we go ahead and put it back on the vehicle. Okay, now the clip for this, which is what I would recommend removing first, is right over there in the back. All you gotta do is, just like we did on the other side, is pop it backwards and pull this down, and it will literally come down. And then on the downside, what I'd recommend doing, especially if you're not planning on keeping this, which I am not, I'm just gonna cut right through it, just make an incision here, and then cut right through it. This way I can take it off. Okay, and now just like the intercooler side, we need to unclip this one. The easiest way to get to the clip is through this side of the vehicle. So right over here on this side, not under, it's really through here, and you take a flathead and just pop it off. Okay, so something I did forget to mention, but it is gonna be very important if you wanna remove this piece, is to take out these two bolts, which mount up. Super simple. I believe they were 10s, and yeah, very quick and easy to remove, but you do gotta remove it in order to get this piece off. By the way, the clips that I was referring to again was these clips. These are the ones that I was talking about that you have to pull back on in order to get off. So you gotta pull this piece back in order for it to spring open up. And then what I would do is I'd put some tension on this, stick a flathead screwdriver in here, like that, leave it in there, maybe another one in here if you really want to, and just wiggle this thing and then it'll pop right off. All right, now with the factory system out of the way, we'll go ahead and prepare these just like we did with the other side. Put a little bit of oil over here on the O-ring. This is gonna go on the intercooler side, and this is going to go to the turbo. And then once again, MMR provides you with the coupling that you're going to need to slip on. I would slip this on this way first while you're putting this on. This way you could just slide it back into place where you need it to be. Okay, so something that helped me is I removed the clip and I removed the coupler. I first fitted the pipe and then I put on the clip. Just remember those top two bunny ears, those things are gonna go on the top and they're gonna fall into the groove. So just make sure to do that. But yeah, that part's fitted. Now we gotta get the other part on. First we're gonna put on the coupler and then we're gonna go ahead and put on the intercooler side. Okay, so got everything buttoned up and in. The only thing that I would say, and the only feedback that I would have for MMR, is to make this coupler maybe like a 1/4 of an inch longer, because you do really have to, and I guess they purposely made it this size so that like you install this the right way and only the right way, because if you are slightly off in the direction of these two pipes, you're not gonna have enough length for your coupler to properly fit. Well, I guess it is feedback for MMR either way. Maybe make this like a 1/4 of an inch longer on the coupler, just in case for whatever reason the person installs the piping slightly off. Because right here, the tolerances are so exact. Like you have to do a little bit of fidgeting with this to get the pipes exactly center in order to get this coupler to go on properly. Other than that, it came out really good. Now we need to install the fender liner. Like I said earlier, I was gonna go ahead and clean my fender liner, which I actually did. And so now that everything is nice and clean in here, all we need to do is install everything back and go for a test ride. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and get the weight of the whole setup that we removed. So first item is 1 pound 3 ounces. Next is going to be 1 pound 13 ounces. So that's 3 pounds between the two of these pieces. And now the piece that we cut off, 9 ounces. So 3 pounds, 9 ounces, almost 4 pounds on the factory setup. Now in terms of weight savings, going with the charge pipes from MMR, you are going to be saving about 5 ounces going with the ones from MMR. They're about 5 ounces lighter than the factory setup. So no real big weight savings there. But now you can also hold more boost, and the cooling is going to be much better using the ones from MMR versus the OEM ones.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Now let's go ahead and measure up the diameters. Now on this piece, I am going to keep in mind that this piece does taper, so it tapers from here over to here, and then obviously it goes back down to the intercooler side, which is like that, right? So I will keep that in mind. The other thing I do want to mention is that the flow of air is going to be a lot more smoother with less turbulence, because it's not going to have things like this which create ripples. It's just going to have that smooth piping all the way up to the turbine. Now let's go ahead and cut this off so we can measure the diameter. Okay, now we'll go ahead and measure the internal diameter on this. So about 4587 is roughly where it's at. So at least at this portion of it, it is gonna be a bigger opening. All right, and let's go ahead and do the same thing on the intake side so we can get an accurate reading of the intake tube. Let's go ahead and measure up the intake side now. So it is almost exactly the same as the diameter of the one from MMR, but of course lacking the rigidity, cooling power, and the ability to withstand a lot more boost pressures, and of course the ability to add water methanol through a super easy to install tap. Anyways, let's go ahead and get in the car and take it out for a test drive, see what we think about it, and see if it made any big of a difference.
A few moments later.
Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing is that there is an increased turbo sound. I'm assuming that's because we went from rubber piping, for the most part, a little bit of metal in some areas, but for the most part it was all rubber piping, going to the all aluminum. I'm assuming the sound is going to reverberate differently within the tubing, and so that's why if you listen in, music to my ears, you get to hear the turbo sound a lot more. And when I mean turbo sound, I don't mean so much of the fluttering or the blow valve. I mean, in this case scenario, the sound of the turbo spooling. So it's kind of like that jet sound, that's what you're really hearing. And by the way, for those of you who are curious, I'm doing this right now in the normal driving mode, also known as mid mode. So just as a reminder, there's two key benefits to why you would want to switch out your current charge pipes to hard pipes. The first benefit is if you are ever planning on increasing your boost pressure, meaning you're planning on tuning your Mini Cooper and increasing your boost pressure, the factory OEM charge pipes are prone to breakage or leakage by increasing your boost pressure, which makes a lot of sense. The second thing I would say is the internal diameter on the aluminum piping from MMR, so the hard pipes, it's a smooth bore all the way through. And so what that means is you get an increase in your throttle response. Now in normal mode, you could definitely feel a little bit of throttle response increase, but I think it's more of a my butt dyno kind of situation. I don't know if that's like, you know, a placebo and me knowing like, oh, well, smoother diameter is going to mean that there's going to be an improved in throttle response, or I'm actually feeling it. Oh my gosh, and listen to the sound of this turbo. That alone to me is worth the upgrade. Now, the question is this a must-have upgrade? I would say, like I said, for those of you who are planning on tuning your Mini Cooper and increasing your boost pressures, yes. For those of you who want to increase the sounds of your turbo spool, yes. For those of you who want to get out every ounce of performance out of your Mini Cooper, yes. And on a turbo car, for those of you who don't know, having solid charge pipes are a must-have upgrade whenever you're increasing boost pressures. Now, a mod that accompanies the charge pipes really, really well, and I'd highly recommend that if you're planning on doing this, you also go and get what I'm about to tell you next, but that's an intercooler. Especially on Mini Coopers, one of the biggest weak points, if not the biggest weak point, is the factory intercooler. So that's going to be coming up in an episode here shortly. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this in sport mode. Oh, listen to that exhaust tone. Oh, that sounds so good. Now, let's see if sport mode makes a difference. Oh, yeah. The throttle response in sport mode makes a big difference. So I don't want to say it's my butt dyno. It might be my butt dyno, but you could definitely feel an improved throttle response in sport mode. Man, I can't wait to install the intercooler now. Now that I have the charge pipes in, I'm excited to get the intercooler in. With that being said, don't forget, if you're interested in picking up these charge pipes or anything that I list in any of my videos, make sure to use code Bertini. Use the links in the description box below and you will save a bunch of money off of your order. With that being said, and most importantly, above all other things that I talk about in my videos, make sure you're putting out good energy into the world and you're paying it forward. It's the only way we're gonna make the world a better place. I'll check y'all out later. Bye now. Oh, that sounds so nice. I love it.